Happy New Year! Happy New Day. This is Live at 5, All Things Healthy with Cheryl Millett here. I'm just getting my big books ready here. And I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. I guess we'll call it that because it's different holidays. So we can absolutely call it just that. And I'm sure today a lot of people are getting back on usual schedules. I know teachers, my daughter going to school, students. So everybody's kind of getting back into their usual routine. Now, when I want to say usual routine, mostly that can apply, when I think of it, I think of actually what do you eat or how do you eat mostly, right? So we're back. We've had the holidays. You know, it's a new year. In a lot of cases, people are having fun with it's a new decade. But what do you usually do? This is going to be my recommendation for, and cleansing is interesting because I've talked about cleansing. I've talked about detoxifying. We can use those interchangeably. And one of the things I think is quite important is actually to first get a usual routine of how you can eat on a regular basis. So I think this is really important because if you actually do cleanse programs, and some of them do go on for months, you know, there's people that have lost not 100 pounds, but 200 pounds, and they do go on a program, and then they can use programs maintenance. So I'm thinking because I've been working with one for almost 15 years. And that's great, but at a certain level, it would be really good to establish what you would do if you didn't have the protein shakes. Like, what would your diet look like? What would you be doing ongoingly with that? Or let's say the thereafter. So in cases where people are doing cleanse programs that last, I think last a week, 10 days, a month, and even then, some of those programs actually have diet recommendations. But what I'm recommending here is to actually tune in, to take the time to tune into a cleaner diet, a more wholesome diet, better quality of food. And that could change easily over the years to come or over the months. But let's just say you make the changes you want: more water, more, you change the water, the portions, different things, eating habits. So those things are, I think, important to get established before you even do a cleanse program. Now, you can do it either way, but to understand that that's what you want to get into afterwards. So therefore, your eating habits are, you're not turning to, so now what do I do? And there's so much yo-yoing that goes on. Not just your typical diets, but even with cleansing and detoxing, where we can use that as a way to clean the system. And then people go back to some crazy way of eating, the muffins that's full of refined sugars, refined oils. And so I think it's better to think about and to strategize, what you're kind of doing. It's important. I've quite often put my clients on a clean diet first. Some of it is to suss out what they're even currently doing, just even to kind of get to that part, to understand what they're currently doing, and then one step at a time to kind of change. So then once that's established, when you do the liver gallbladder flash or some of these cleanse programs that are 10 days, even 14 days, even 30 days, you actually have a solid place to go around. If you know where you're going to go back to. And it's usually those habits that you're doing regularly that you're going to go back to and that you're more comfortable with. And, it's not it's not a huge production to do. So I think more and more I've learned that the way that most of us were thinking we had to eat was actually gourmet cooking, like going to a restaurant, ordering an appetizer, a main, and a dessert. And this is something that I think when the frozen dinner microwave stuff came out where people were so grateful they didn't have to do all of it. But we know that's a lot of processed food. And preferably not using the microwave is better. But I think there is a lot of fast foods, a lot of ways to use wholesome foods, and you can make a meal in as simple as 15 minutes, a lot of meals on an ongoing basis. Then it comes to the weekend, you can get the recipe books out, do the gourmet food if you want. More and more people are going to eating only twice a day. And I was speaking to somebody who leads a nutrition school. We have a great conversation because I lecture there on seal oil. And she mentioned that she only eats one time a day, once a day. So there's much to, I think, just to kind of understand, to learn about, and then to try. I mean, but there's different scenarios going on here, people, because if you're under a lot of stress and you're go, you're going to crave. You're going to have all these carbs. So it's almost better, just like the cleaner diet before you do the cleansing and make those changes. In some ways, we can also do that as well when we think of going to 2 meals a day, or we think we're going to one meal a day, that we can actually prepare ourselves by learning to relax. Meditation comes in, but you don't necessarily need to use meditation. But just to bring the body into a more, these might be words that you're not familiar with, but I'll just kind of go through, because I have brought this up and I'm going to bring it up more often. But it is the nervous system. There's the parasympathetic, and there's the sympathetic. So the sympathetic is being chased by the lion. This is when you get into stress mode, go. Thinking usually comes first, all of that. And the parasympathetic is where the body is actually relaxed. It's going, I'm going to digest my food better if I'm in this more relaxed, calm, not so much busy mind, monkey mind, which is where the meditation kind of comes in. But you can take your thoughts and you can actually just kind of do some deep breathing, and that will actually mean if you just kind of let go all thoughts. So it's not a meditation per se, but it's really coming to the table with some deep breathing, slower breathing. When you breathe slower, you're actually getting into parasympathetic mode. When you meditate and you consciously are aware of your breath and slowing it down, breathing in, holding it, so that's all bringing it to parasympathetic, which is where you wouldn't crave the carbs as much, and you'd have optimum digestion. That's why it's so much better when you come to the table that you actually leave the work outside the eating space and you take the time to prepare yourself to be in that relaxed mode, or calm, more peaceful, before you start eating. And your digestive system will work that much better. So these are some of the things we've got to think about before you go to 2 meals a day, even 1 meal a day, is to actually be able to get your mind around relaxing the body so that you're able to not have all this craving carbs. The idea with doing more workouts and going on the cardiovascular train, where it's either machines or you're in classes all the time, that would actually put you into the sympathetic mode, and it'd be run, go, and you would be craving, which is why sometimes that isn't ideal when people are trying to lose weight. It would go against what they're trying to do. And it surely is crazy. I mean, I know this, the feeling of cravings, more from studying. So anytime, now I'm going back 20 years, but anytime I was to study and just thinking about studying, getting the books also to, it was so, now my snack food was maybe making popcorn, that kind of thing. But the idea was, it was so, you could just feel the body going to sympathetic mode and craving. And I recognized that was, unless I prepared myself and took the time to kind of get into a relaxed mode, I didn't even realize, but I did realize when I was going to OCAD and I knew I had 5 hours of homework, or when I was studying commodities, futures and derivatives and stuff like that, it was easy. As soon as it was the study mode, it was so easy to go, okay, I'm just going to bring food around because I'm craving. Like, you know, it's just like constant energy because of the brain, mind, you feel like you're being chased by a lion. That's the closest thing I think I've kind of felt with how our body goes into sympathetic mode and we start craving, was actually the studying part. Now, some people will go to different things, different foods, but I want to go into something that I know, that health and longevity book. I just kind of flipped open the book and found this piece that was, and again, this is 1909 for those people who haven't, I've hold up this book, but I have it open here. It was a very big book, but the pages must be so big because really it's only it's only 1,400 pages, but it's huge. Hello, everyone. Angel, Sue, Randy, and Cheryl. Cheryl, another Cheryl Millett. So let me read this to you. I think this is very important to understand that at times we have fallen prey to, I want to say marketing, but it might be a little bit of both, where making money more than marketing, but that becomes part of how they use psychology to get people to do things or get people to feel that it's okay to do things. So these are doctors, medical doctors, that had written, they must have taken different sections of the book and written, because there's about 15 books in one here. Tobacco habit. So let's talk about tobacco. Tobacco habit and cure. Now, I did read somewhere, let's see if I can find it, but yes, I left it here. So today, with the smoke-free laws, this is America's health rankings. For 30 years, they've been actually recording information. So the good news is, let's get some good news here. Smoke-free laws that have been enacted in 27 states, and smoking is down to, so I believe it was like 1 in 3, but it's down to 1 in 6 adults. So that's, that's good. And there was actually some other positive results were in there, but the two that weren't so positive was obesity and diabetes. And sometimes they kind of go hand in hand. I really think it's too much food. It's too much of the processed foods and just too much foods. I mean, remember, there is not too long ago, and still today, they will say eat 3 meals a day and 2 snacks. Way too much food. Way too much food. It's so much food that you can just, and this is the logic of it, if you eat more food, you're going to have to take more medicine, more insulin, which, as I said, because I discovered that insulin, the drug, is actually a salt, which dehydrates and actually shrinks the nerves, which is the whole reason for the diabetes side effects. So it makes complete sense that you want to, as a person with diabetes, you want to eat less food, right? You want to eat less food. You do not want to be eating all that food, because if you do, you're going to need to take more insulin. And if you take more insulin than you need, then you're going to have to eat more food. So you can see how that spiraling effect is going to be managing a condition that really is of too much processed food. Because my understanding through my research was the cells, and it's no different than anything else, any space that we have can only take in so much. So if you had a glass of water, if you pour too much water, it's going to spill over. If you try to fit too much golf balls in the pail, you can only fit so much golf balls in there. Our food and our blood can only take so much sugar. If you have too much food, the pancreas is going to be stressed out by producing its own natural insulin. The cells which take in the sugar, right, to produce the energy, is going to say, whoa, can't take any more sugar into the cell. You better stay out there in the blood, in the fluids, in the blood, and we're just going to have to wait to use up what we have. So you have this thing going on in your system which just makes complete logic, complete sense. So what's better? What's better is to eat a whole lot less food and work towards that, and to reduce the stress levels, which quite often are, more to do with thoughts. But people who have work and children, and really they do have a long list of things to do. And children in 3 or 4 programs, which I never did with my kids because I thought I wanted to give them the space and time to do things. But we really have to re-look at our lifestyle to really get it into balance. And balance means that you're not go-go. Not go-go-go. So this is back to tobacco habit and cure. So nicotine, so medical doctors are writing this. There is no deadlier poison in nature than nicotine. A drop or two of nicotine is sufficient to cause death. Like all poison, it is highly stimulating for the instant, soon to be followed by its death-like effects. It is a peculiar poison which tobacco in any and all of its forms yields. The tobacco chewer, snuff taker, cigar smoker, and cigarette fiend, no matter what his or her reason be for indulgence in the weed, is simply administering poison to the vitals. Now, the vitals is just our body, or our vital organs, our system, our vital system. So here it goes on to speak, but what I discovered as well in books 100 years ago is the mention of caffeine as being a stimulant and a poison and a drug. And in fact, I was talking to Toronto Public Health, and I have said this before, when we were talking about this whole cannabis coming in and where did it fall into the laws, they put it under smoking versus alcohol. And then I said, well, what about, then you have caffeine in coffee. She says, yes, we know it's a drug, Cheryl. We do know. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So people, we have these drugs or poisons or stimulants that are here within our reach, children. I'm seeing children, school children, drinking coffee and caffeine. And it is so important that we let parents know, or if we have our own children, that neurodevelopment goes on until, way past the puberty line, which we think, okay, we're here, a lot of things are fully seemingly to develop. So we know immaturity and stuff still to come, but and get over, but till age 24. So the neural development that actually is now when we say neural development, it means the forming of the neurons, the full establishment of the neurons, the full growth of the neurons is to age 24. That's why it's not unheard of that people have growth spurts when they're 18, growth spurts when they're 22. There's many things that can still shift and change within the body up until, fully neural development. And this is what the biggest thing is for people, even researchers that I've met and talked to, cannabis for children. I mean, we talked about the caffeine. Tobacco, I mean, how many children are actually smoking? These all have an effect on the neurodevelopment. Neurodevelopment is everything. As I was speaking to a psychiatrist who's my neighbor, and I said, if we have a problem with the nerves, what's happening? He says, well, if you have a problem with the nerves, Cheryl, you have a problem, a big problem. Psychiatrists are medical doctors first, and they still have to keep up on their studies every year, just like a medical doctor for medical. But the psychiatrists, some will admit, and he does, he's very holistic. He's actually from Jamaica, and I think he's in late 80s. He may even be in his 90s now. And we'd have several chats. And the idea is, people from the islands are so much more exposed to the healing of plants, the healing of their parents giving them. I was speaking to somebody who's from Trinidad, and he was actually telling me the story that in this planet, there is actually only 2 coffee beans that have a healing effect. Only 2. And it has nothing to do with, he said, the same processing that we're seeing here. Basically, you're having a burnt bee. It's like you burnt your toast and you dip your toast in water and then you drink the water. Similar, right? You burnt something. I know they call it roasted, but so the idea is, we had a chat, and he said they didn't drink it often, but every few months they would drink this coffee that they would make the way they make, and not with sugar and not with milk, and this would get rid of all the pinworms in the digestive system. You might have heard of the coffee enema. Now, I'm not saying this is good or this is bad, and we all have to do it. And I don't know what these strains of coffee are, but I got the gist that it's, how much did he say they were worth? $1,000 a pound. So it's not what you're buying in the store, and it's not what you're getting in the coffee shops. But the idea is, we really do have to understand that if you're going to smoke, and whatever you're going to smoke, that regardless of what it is that you're smoking, that the combustion that happens in itself, the smoke, the combustion, that fire, is actually harmful for our lungs. So forget about the chemicals that are in the plants itself. Forget about that. Just the combustion alone, that you're going through this and you're bringing the smoke into the lungs, is similar to the burnt coffee beans, if we want to, say it that way, right? So the idea here is to really understand, what is the things that we are consuming? What are they doing to our system, to our nervous system? Especially our nervous system. But, there's a lot of people out there that are happy to take medications. Again, this is just lack of education. That's all it is. And they're happy to take medications, but actually happy to still feed the body with poisons and stimulants and chemicals and toxins. Chemicals and toxins come in various forms. Obviously, there's so many. Artificial stuff right off the get-go. If you want to drop one thing from your diet, is to look at the labels and drop off all artificial sweeteners. From there, artificial colors, artificial flavors, anything in the artificials, and then you get into the preservatives. Some of the preservatives are better than others. Some are more natural, but the idea is preservatives. Think of it this way. The only reason why our food can be on the shelf, not in a refrigerator, is because they have to add preservatives. In some cases, they're freeze drying. That's cool. Some cases, they're freezing. That's pretty cool too. And you will change up the glycemic or how the blood sugar raises. But it's no different than making juice from a bunch of fruits and vegetables. You increase the amount of sugar, how fast the sugar pours into your blood. So the idea with these preservatives, really, if you think about it, is they're preserving the food so it doesn't go bad. So what do you think it's doing when you consume the foods that actually have the preservatives? I know everybody is thinking, I'm going to live longer. I'm going to live longer. Longevity, Cheryl, I'm preserving my body. And that's not how it works. The longevity doesn't come in from eating preservatives. In fact, the body is supposed to be vibrant and alive, not dead on the shelf trying to be preserved so that it doesn't spoil or oxidize or anything of that nature. So that's why you have to kind of think, is really think out of the box. Anything that I'm putting into my body, what is it doing? Now, when we think about liquids, the easiest thing is just to drink pure water. That's the easiest, because I read this in a book and I couldn't figure out where I actually found this phrase, but it was something like this. If it's not water, it has a different agenda. So all of the liquids that we have gone on to drink, maybe because people think water is boring, water is tasteless, water is dull, water is flavorless, water is, there's people that hate drinking water. And unless they put something in it or they drink something else, they are really stressed to drink water. But like anything, if you eat your taste buds, if you consume enough sugary food, actually salt is a better example. If you've been consuming salt and been adding more and more salt to your food, you're going to get used to the salt. Then now you start having food with less and less salt. Then it's like, oh, this is tasteless. They get used to adding the salt. So it's like that. So if you are trying to wean yourself off of flavored water or coffee or whatever it is, the pure water is now just bringing in little by little, like you just figure it out. You figure out what's going to work better for you. And then work towards having a day of just water. Even do sort of things. This is going to be my water day. I'm not going to drink pop. I'm not going to have lemonade. I'm not going to have, I guess you could say, milk of all kinds, almond milk, all those, coffee, tea, kombucha, alcohol, and whatever else there is in liquids, right? So all of that stuff it has a different agenda. Now, it's not to say we don't want to drink things that are liquid but not water. Green tea, the matcha tea, that's very high in antioxidants. You don't heat up the water very quickly. That's a very good liquid. Chaga tea. So if you brew chaga tea, that's another one. In fact, a little bit of show and tell here. I actually brought it out at the last minute. And I'll hold it up. This is a piece of chaga mushroom. Now, it doesn't look like a mushroom. As you know, a mushroom, it doesn't look that like it at all. It grows on birch trees, so you can kind of see this part here is part of the birch. You can see this is very black, and for most people, they're going to go, don't want to actually consume that because it looks so foreign. But this is called King of the Mushrooms, Diamond in the Forest. It's been consumed by Russians and Asians and things like that for many, many, many years. And you do have to brew it for several hours to really get the potency. And what I heard from some of my person that came to a dinner, she said it was so weak with the way I was making it. So I had a condensed version to put in a dip, and she said that's more like it. Now that was condensed about 10 times how I was making it because of how other people were making it. But this is known, because I did this in my book, antioxidant profiles, because we hear about blueberries. But did you know this is even higher in antioxidants than the blueberries, the fruits? And what's even higher per weight, but you will not eat that much of it, is cinnamon and these spices. But you don't have a teaspoon of cinnamon. And even if it was a teaspoon, what they were measuring equal to something like this. It's like a half a cup, like a lot. spice. So antioxidants are very good to combat the tobacco, the nicotine, the caffeine, the artificial stuff, the oxidated foods, like the oxidated rancid oils that exist out there. But there's a balance between things. So oxidative is a good thing because that helps break things down. We know that oxidative stress in nature is the breaking down of the plants. We know that it's the breaking down of metals, right? Even though you want the metal roof to stay forever. But the idea is if it's natural, it's not meant to, not meant to hang around. So rust is an oxidative thing. So there's a balance within our body. So we have oxygen come in and it has its, purpose within our body, oxygenate the cells. But there's a balance between all of that. You want to be able to avoid the toxins and chemicals and have enough antioxidants to offset even your own metabolism, your own burning of fuel kind of thing, so to speak. So the furnace has, smoke come out. I'm not going to say our metabolism is smoke. It's not smoke. But the idea is that we have to kind of offset the natural things that happen even within our own body, right? So good foods are very helpful. And the less processed the food, the less cooked the food. This is where I'm very pro raw food. The only thing is you have to be careful of a couple of things. When we're thinking about raw food is the temperature. That's very important. A lot of us have grown to put things in the fridge or the freezer. Why? Because you have to understand how things work, and the thing around eating things out of the fridge or out of the freezer is so cold, which is not great. So room temperature is much better to eat fruits. I don't put any of my fruit in the fridge anymore unless it gets to a point where it's ripe, but I'm not going to be able to eat all of it. So it's always food management. That's how you're going to have to look at it. Food management is something I've been working on for years. So we're all nobody here's going to be able to take care of it. But things like celery, in a cool place is very good, but within water, otherwise it goes limp. Carrots, the same thing. Cold room, sand, potatoes, onions, I don't put them in the fridge anymore unless I cut up an onion. Bananas. Yeah, there was a lot of things I used to put in the fridge that I don't put in the fridge anymore. Garlic, don't need to put garlic in the fridge. Got the garlic keeper. This is clay. So it's about keeping things air circulating. That's important. And dry. That's important. Cool or in a dark place. That's important versus sun. Yeah, so food management is very important. It'll cut down on the waste, and you just kind of have to learn how different things kind of work. But I think that's where the habit of people that are doing these days is they're shopping more often. They're shopping at markets a couple of times a week or at least once a week. They are, picking up a few things for dinner on a regular basis as opposed to going out and purchasing everything at once. And that might be something to try to get used to. But what does that equal to? I know people say, well, I can't eat this for 3 days in a row. Well, if you're going to buy broccoli, typically it's a big thing of broccoli. At least kind of figure out what you can do with the broccoli for 2 days. Some may be stir fry. Another one, you might, what else would you put in? A broccoli salad, broccoli soup. And broccoli, actually, you can steam it ever so slightly. And then if you have a Vitamixer, you can mix it with a few things. You can warm up some water. And then it's not so high temperature. There's so much to learn. Really, there is so much to learn. But I wanted to bring up one more thing about a food. And this is, I'm going to show you this book that I went to her lecture, and she's got all kinds of doctorates and doctors, and she's actually originally and grew up in Ireland. I won't go into too many details. I'm going to show you this book, and it's a little chapters, bite-sized chapters about so many things. Now, when I say in Ireland, she actually had, and this is the beauty of Ireland, she actually had some upbringing with Druid knowledge. That's what I'm going to say. And that's the beauty of Ireland, because Ireland was one of those countries that wasn't ever officially conquered 100%, even though we know Britain, and then they had all these revolutions, rebellions, and so forth, but it wasn't ever conquered 100%. So the paganism as we know it, and then I'll put the Druid over here, that they were kind of intermingled as people. But I'm going to show you the copy of this book. I don't even know. I purchased it at the talk. And this is what I'll mention that was really, I was just drawn to go to the talk. I don't even question it or whatever. Sometimes I just know I have to be there. And this is the lady, Diana Beresford Kruger, that said, if everyone just planted one tree every year for the next 5 years, our climate change issues would go away. We can always work on the other things, but I'm going to show you the book, and we'll see if we can get in a good picture here. Anyway, it's The Sweetness of a Simple Life, Diana. But she has all kinds of credentials. But here's one of the chapters, Cancer Prevention. Some vegetables protect us from cancer. And I didn't know this. And some things go under different names, but it's actually bok choy. So, also known as pak choy. And so she goes into this disease-resistant healthy vegetable has many forms, all of which have been developed for a shorter day and early maturation. But she says, she goes on and she doesn't talk about it too much, but the idea is it doesn't cost much. So the really key thing about the bok choy and some of other things is to understand the sulfur-rich foods and how they support our body and how they are anti-cancer. So garlic's that, onions that, but some people can't eat garlic and onions. And I'm for one. Raw garlic on an empty stomach. I just decided I was going to eat a small piece of garlic. Thank God I didn't pop the whole thing in. But I felt like I was going to die. Seriously, it was this huge concentrated pain in the stomach that I had no idea. What the hell, am I allergic to garlic or something? But what I learned later on was there's certain enzymes, and the raw is very strong, very powerful. I went on to meet people that can't even have garlic at all, any raw garlic at all. So for me, I'm okay with raw garlic if it's within foods. But to eat it by itself on an empty stomach is next to death, for me. So and it might be just for me, but not for other people. I'd heard of people eating teaspoons of raw garlic. And I've heard of this, so I didn't think it was any issue. I'd pop it in. It's very hot, for me anyway. But the idea is, there's some things we're going to live and learn. But that's all I really want to talk about today. It's kind of a lot in there, a lot of nuggets, but it's just education, education, education. And so if there's anything particular, okay, got voice now, okay. Well, if there's anything in particular that you learn, I just wanted to ask that post message. Is nothing to do with Facebook and getting more views and that kind of crappy stuff. It's really about retention, but also you may have learned something and somebody else might have been thinking about something else. And what we're doing is just repeated the information out there, and it's very helpful. So if there's one thing You can put 2, you can put 3 if you want, but if there's something that you got out of anything that I said, just put a quick post, a quick message, so that one, if people came on late, or if people are just kind of, I just want to see what people got out of the video, then that's very helpful. So just kind of put that. I think that's really cool to do that. So I'm going to say it's been 40 minutes in. There's still as much education to actually, to come into Live at 5. So it'll be forever thing. But yeah, if you haven't eaten bok choy, then go and purchase some. Just lightly steam it. If you like butter, you put a little bit of that. That's a perfect food to put a little bit of soy sauce in as well. I would heat it with water. I wouldn't fry it in butter, but when you put the lid on and you have a little bit of water in there, and then the water from the bok choy, it'll help steam it. Don't have to do it very long. You can see we're just kind of a little bit tender. And you'll be able to tell, it'll be changing the color. And then take it off. You can rinse the water, you can drink the water. The idea is to put very little water so that, and it's just getting used to it. And then when you take it off, if you have a really good soy sauce, a non-GMO organic soy sauce, without the fillers, the preservatives, then just put a teeny bit of that on. You can put a little bit of olive oil, right? So some good quality olive oil. And so soy sauce, a bit of olive oil. That's it. That's it. And enjoy and try it. They usually come in bunches of, they come in a little bit of bunches, but just try it. Try bok choy. That'll be your homework for this week. And add it to any stir fry. Just experiment with that. If you're going to do it with onions and garlic, put the onions and garlic in first. This is where you might want to use a little bit of butter, but use a lid, low heat, and soften that up first because it'll take a little bit longer. Then put the bok choy in, sit it in, close it, let all the steam cook it, and then add your healthy olive oil because you don't want to heat it. And then the soy sauce, you don't want to heat that either. And so after it's off, then toss that a little bit and enjoy. You can do stir fries, of all stir fries, that way as well. So enjoy some bok choy this week. Best of health. Happy New Year. And we'll look forward to next Monday Live at 5. So take care. Oh, and Jill says, I pick my own chaga and eat bok choy every 2 weeks, stir fry, and also in soup. Yes, also in soup. But just explore the internet and see where people, but keep it very simple. I think to the stir fry, you don't have to use high heat, and also in soup, you just chop it up like very fine, and you're going to use the leaf, and you're going to use the stem part too as well. But you can use it in noodles, if you do rice or pasta, stuff like that. You can put that on there as well. Yeah, so enjoy, experiments with some bok choy if you haven't already, or let's try to think of new ways to consume bok choy, even if we use it in other things. So thanks everyone for coming on board, and a lot of information. It's something that I feel education is key. So take care again until next week. Best of health. Happy New Year. Bye for now.